So it's easy for us to see, the final results and all that. What gives you confidence that you guys are closer than maybe it would seem to all of us?
Well, I think we're all about our process, and a lot of these games in this league, no matter who you're playing, come down to a couple plays, and that's been the case for, I would say, 4 of our games this year, and unfortunately, we've been on the wrong side of 3 of those. So, there's definitely plays out there for us to make. I think, what have we lost 3 games by 7 points, and I mean that's not comforting to say by any stretch. We got to find a way to make the plays, especially at the end of the game. There's been 3 times this year where our offense has had the ball with an opportunity to go down and take the lead, and we haven't gotten it done. So, but I do think we've shown flashes as a team. There was a stretch in that game when they were up 16-3, where we go down and score as an offense to make it 16-10. We get a 3-and-out defensively, and then we go back down and score to make it 17-16. And then that's where you got to kind of shut the door on somebody or give yourself an opportunity to get the ball back and build upon your lead, which we obviously did not get done. So, the thing that gives me a lot of hope is just knowing the response that I see from our team in the locker room, in the meeting rooms, on the practice field. There's definitely, these guys aren't afraid of a challenge, and right now we have a challenge. And I think going through some adversity, as long as you come out the other side of it, can be a positive thing if channeled and harnessed the right way, and if you respond the right way. And so that's the expectation I have for our football team.
Matt, is there some leadership that you think some of the young guys can draw on? I'm talking about the guys who were here last year. You guys hit a rut through the middle of the season, but you pulled out of it and got yourself back in the hunt. I mean, is there something that the young guys can look to maybe the older guys to draw upon there?
Yeah, I think so. I think anytime you go through tough stretches and you can kind of, all it takes is you gotta find a way to win a game, and then you can move on to the next one. So, but by no means is this any fun going through this. It's a grind. It really tests you mentally, and it can be extremely frustrating. I realize that. We're all frustrated because there's a lot of time, energy, effort that goes into this thing, and when you're not getting the results, it can be demoralizing if you allow it to be. And the message to our guys is like, hey, man, we are in a tough time, but I don't think any of those guys in that room would be there had they not faced similar challenges throughout the course of their life and be able to battle through that.
Matt, I know this is the proverbial if I knew the answer I would have fixed it by now question. But I'd like more insight from you because you're smarter than that. What do you see as to why you guys can't get things going in the first half? What are some of the symptoms that you're seeing recur that you can say, all right, these are the things we have to fix so we can be better in the first half?
Yeah, I do think, obviously we came out the gates and had a 3-and-out right away. And we ran a play. We had 11 personnel. They put base defense out there. It wasn't a good call. I'll be honest with you. It was a bad call. We tried 2 runs, and then we got in 3rd and long. They played a zone defense, and we had to check the ball down and punt the ball. And then after that, we did have some drives where we moved the ball. We had an opportunity, obviously missed a field goal, but I just think that there's been certain plays, whether, we had a bust on one of the 3rd downs that led to a punt. And then we have, a play drawn up, the one we threw to Jay Reed, first man coverage, exactly what we're calling it for, and you get the premier look, and you don't quite execute it to the level that you need to be successful in this league. So I do think there were some good things. I think in the second half we got a little bit more aggressive, I would say, and we were able to hit some stuff down the field. We broke a few more tackles. I thought our run blocking improved. Just moving people off the ball. I thought our backs were pressing, running hard. All those guys ran hard. But when it comes down to it, you look in the second half, we were able to convert in a lot of those critical situations, be it third down or giving us an opportunity on fourth down to get the conversion. And we were able to do that and capitalize that. And you sustain drives and you score points when you do that. And if you're not doing that in the first half, it gets tough. And do we have to be better? Absolutely. We have got to be better. We got to find a way to not only put our guys in a better position, whether it's by scheme or whatever, but then we have to go out there and execute it, especially when we get the looks that we're looking for.
So along those lines, I got into a Twitter discussion with someone last night. You don't script plays, right? They're called what, openers? Is that what that is?
I mean, yeah.
Okay,
I don't know. I don't know what the difference is. I
Well,
thought
I
it's
guess-
the same.
Well, I guess I guess the question is what goes into those opening plays, or is it?
It's what you do on film study. You know, you try to anticipate how somebody's going to play you, and you're not always correct. Obviously, was not anticipating. They've shown that they would match your personnel groupings, especially in 11 personnel, whether they're in their nickel defense or what we call penny, which is 5 D linemen, 1 linebacker, and a nickel. Well, they played their base defense, so I needed to get us into a different play call in that situation. But yeah, you got to trust your process in terms of what you're studying. Also, being mindful of what you've already put on tape, and that helps you kind of come to how you best want to attack somebody with the openers. And it's the same process I would say that we've used every year since I've been here, and even prior to coming here. In all our stops, and it's just, for whatever reason, we're not as successful with that this year. So, we got to do better with it.
So I guess I'm glad you said it that way, because I think it was maybe 2 years ago you guys were like number 1 in the league in opening draft touchdowns or something like that.
Yeah.
Is it hard to keep patient with your approach when it's not working?
Absolutely, it totally tests you, and you want to start trying to find ways to get explosive plays and chuck the ball all over the field. But I also know that I think there's something to being able to run the football and sticking with that. And I think you saw kind of some of the effects of that in the second half, where we were able to get some larger gains on the ground. I think it's just a cumulative effect of running the ball, and it just kind of keeps the defense a little bit more off balance. They have to play blocks, and they can't just tee off and go rush the passer. So I think it helps just every facet of your game if you're able to do that from a pass protection standpoint, and then obviously getting yourself hopefully into manageable situations, whether it's third and short or whatever.
What did you think of the spark of adversity, A.J. Dillon, the last 2 games, just the way he's, there's a lot of outside noise around him, and he's run, seems like very hard, and just what, have you seen a new A.J. in the last 2 weeks and more motivated and got a little fire under him?
Yeah, he's done a nice job. He's lowering his pad level and he's finishing runs, and that's what we expect out of him. He's a big back, and he's getting downhill. We're getting him going a little bit better, I would say, the last couple of weeks, and we need him to continue to do that, and hopefully it just gets better from here on out.
What did you think of the spark that Dontavian gave you in the third quarter? First with the conversion with the pass, but then also being able to find Aaron on the pass that he threw.
Yeah, that was a heck of a throw. I'll tell you what, Simmons he's a really good, smart, heady player, because I was just watching the deep safety the whole time, and he didn't leave that hash, and he sniffed that play out pretty quickly. And typically, at least the way we had repped the play in practice, there was a little bit more air under that ball, and it hit a little bit further downfield. So I was anticipating that, and I'm just watching Simmons kind of hover, and Wicks made the adjustment and threw it on the line. It was a great play by him. But I think he's a guy that we got to continue to try to get more opportunities for in our offense, because he's shown the ability to, not only is he a great route runner, but he's a pretty tenacious blocker. I think you saw it on the short yardage run by Aaron Jones. He'll get after people. He's physical. He's smart. He's a really good route runner. He's got really strong hands, and he's fearless. So he's a guy that we've got a lot of confidence in, and we got to try to find different ways to integrate him more into our offense because he is a productive player.
Man, how do you decide that you're going to have him throw a pass? Do you know that, like I was talking to him today, he played a little quarterback in high school. He said he got to throw a couple at Virginia. Like, do you know that ahead of time, or is it like we're experimenting, goofing around in practice? How does that happen?
Yeah, it's so like, when you're game planning or whatever, you come up with some plays and you might see something from around the league and want to try something like that, and then you just kind of try to figure out who can throw the ball the best. And he does have a pretty good arm. So we've been repping some of that stuff for the last few weeks, working it into it.
But when do you, all right, you're obviously repping it before you run it, but like a month ago, is he like is he just screwing around with the other receivers, or how do you find out?
Well, sometimes that's how it is. Yeah. I mean, these guys in pre-practice, they're throwing balls back and forth to each other, and, you just kind of, you're like, oh, this guy looks like he can throw.
How proud are you of the defense and their efforts just this season?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of good things. Obviously, keeping people out of the end zone is critical. I think I've said this a million times now. If we hold people to under 20 points, I expect to win the game. And we've been able to do that on more than one occasion. So I do think there's a lot of good there. I still think there's another level there in terms of our ability. We have to find a way to generate some more takeaways. We've got to create those turnovers. That'll help, especially when you're having some struggles or inconsistencies on the offensive side of the ball, just to set up field position, to have a short field. And so we got to find a way to generate some of those takeaways. But all in all, I think the effort's been there. Just looking back on the tape, I think we missed too many tackles yesterday, but it's certainly not for a lack of effort. Guys were flying around. They were running out we call them stack monsters, the D linemen. When they're rushing the quarterback, they peel back, and whether it's a screen or a short pass. There was a great one by Carl Brooks where on a third down where he got out of the stack, and I want to say they hit Judy, I think, on a third down and long maybe, where it just shows great effort. So we got to continue to do that. So I think there's a lot of stuff to build upon. But we have, one of the big takeaways for me is how do you generate more turnovers?
You had 3 or 4 guys who aggravated injuries yesterday. Is there any concern as far as the return to play process? Kind of a big picture thing there.
I think anytime you have people that re-aggravate something, you're always concerned about it. And but I think you got to look at it case by case, and every case is a little bit different. And I know these guys have been pushed into play, and we always got to make sure we're making the best decision for them if it is something that is re-aggravated.
I know it's Monday, but do you have any updates on any of those guys?
No, we're still kind of going through that. I'll have more updates for you guys on Wednesday, maybe.
I know that A.J. Dillon was the leading receiver. How much the onus is on everyone else in that receiving room, whether it be Christian, Romeo, Jaden, or the lot going into this weekend to find open space for Jordan?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's predicated on play calls and what coverages they're playing. If they're going to play a soft 2 shell, like we got a bunch of in this game, sometimes your checkdowns are your best opportunities to move the ball, and you saw it on the big play at the end of the game. Everybody was out of there, and so it's hard to push the ball down the field if they're going to play the Tampa 2. And some of those checkdowns, I mean, he breaks the tackle and he's able to, I don't even know how many yards he got on that play, but it was a big gain, and it really set us up and put us in prime position to have an opportunity to go win the game.
2 more, please.
Man, I know you're always saying it's all your fault, but I'm trying to understand. A couple weeks ago you were explaining how you're carrying more stuff over from week to week to try and make it easier for these young guys. Are you still kind of feeling your way in terms of figuring out how much to give them and maybe how much to dress up stuff with more motion and stuff? I'm just curious how it's challenging you. I know it's your job to put them in the best position to succeed, but sometimes that's awfully hard to figure out exactly what that is. How challenging has that been, and where do you think you are in that process?
Well, yeah, I think it, like you mentioned the word, it is a process, and I think we're getting a better indication of what we do well and where we need to get the ball, and who we need to try to target, and you get a better feel throughout the course of the season, just in terms of giving guys reps in practice at certain routes, who can run certain routes better than others, and how does that get incorporated with what defense you're playing, and then you got to try to anticipate kind of some of the coverages that you're going to get from a defensive standpoint. And so I think, yeah, the more, it's just like anything, the more you do something, the more you learn, and the more you're around people, the more you learn them, and the better idea and the better vision you're going to have for them in terms of how you move forward. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Tape. So now that you have, what did you think, good, bad, ugly, from Jordan yesterday? And I'm curious specifically about the way he had the guy in his throwing lane on the touchdown that ended up in Reed's hands, how he adjusted that. That seemed like a pretty savvy play. It didn't work out quite the way it was designed, but did you like that play? And yeah,
we worked on that tip ball drill. Yeah, yeah, it was a great execution by Rome there. Yeah, I think there, like any time you go through a game, there's going to be some plays you want back. There's no doubt about it. There's no such thing as a perfect game, and there was a lot of things that I thought he did really well, and there's some things that obviously I think at the end of the game we missed Christian on that in cut. I think he got caught up on the right side a little too long, and that's just part of it. I think for him, just the feel that you have in the pocket, when to move, how much you have to move, it's part of our journey together. But he's done enough for me to show me that it's all right there. And we just got to try to get, and it's not just him, it's getting the other 10, everybody on the same page. We can't have breakdowns up front. And we got to make sure that we don't have busts, whether it's receivers, tight ends, backs. It all works in unison. And so the better everybody is around him, the better he's going to look. And, I think that we still have, our confidence in him is not wavering one bit. So certainly I think as the play caller, you put a lot of onus on yourself. When things aren't going well, and we'll continue to do that. But we've got to find a way to generate more points, because when you're generating points, it's just a totally different narrative.
On the interception, Simmons said that you had the perfect offensive play called for that one. So what needed to happen from a quarterback perspective to make that play work?
Yeah, that was very nice of him. So. It was one of those things that, so we try to set the tight end down at about 10 yards on that hash, and you try to run Samori over the top. And I think he did a really nice job of playing the route. I think it's more of a timing mechanism. The further a guy gets down the field, the further the ball hangs up in the air, then guys have an opportunity to make a play on the ball. So a lot of it is just the timing of that. And also, I think he played it, quite frankly, he played it so well that it was probably not the time to test that. It'd be better to check it down and, play fourth down. But that's one of the things where I got to be better for Jordan, is just getting him to understand. And I do think he's learning every time he goes out there. Just letting him know, hey man, you don't have to get it all on one. You got 2 plays here. And I think that's just part of the growth process. And we just got to make sure we over communicate in those critical situations, because obviously, you don't get any redos on it.